How do you like technology, Travis?
I don't.
Not at the moment.
Frustrated.
So we were having some technical difficulties here with technology and Facebook. The live just was not working today. But, yeah. Looks like we've got some people showing up, so let's do this. Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning, 19 minutes later. So, technology, problems. It's kind of like, I don't know, COVID, pivot. Go with it. We were going to talk CRMs today.
Yes.
Yeah. And I got a little bit of the sniffles. I was telling you, too much swimming. Darn, all that chlorine is killing me. But good news. I brought my CRM with me. Oh, yes. Pen, sticky notes. This was a suggestion from Travis yesterday.
Excuse me?
You were talking about it in a podcast as an email that you had heard.
Right.
Yeah, I believe it was napkins that they were using. So I brought my sticky notes today to make notes and take notes for my CRM. But kidding all aside. Let's get started. So I closed out all my screens here because we weren't sure we were going to make it on today. But let me pull my notes back up. And here we go. What do you got planned for the weekend?
Oh, I don't know.
All right.
Hanging out.
That's a
It's
good
my
thing.
favorite.
Okay.
Frustrates my wife, and I like it.
Just, you know what? Sit, recharge the batteries, and relax. So, got my notes. You got your notes?
Got my notes.
Got your water? Got my coffee? We're still good. All right, let's get started. So, as usual, thank you guys very much for attending. I appreciate that. You can do us a big, huge favor. Follow us, like us, share this with somebody. Drop a note in the comments. If you guys have any questions, please let us know. Chantel's in the background today, and she'll give us a hand up or just let us know if there's any questions from the audience. But let's talk CRM. So Travis, what the heck is a CRM?
It's the brain of a business.
Okay. Thought you were going to give me the acronym for CRM.
Client Relationship Manager, a.k.a. your database.
Okay. So I didn't know those. I didn't know what CRM actually stood for, so I never looked it up, and I don't know. Doesn't mean I don't know what a CRM is. Just
You've worked with a lot.
I have. We get asked that question. Gosh, it's actually probably one of the more popular questions.
What do we get asked?
What CRM do you use, or what CRM would you suggest or advise? And I believe we're on the same page on that answer.
Well, it's the very last note on my... Ooh, I'm kicking the table. Sorry, folks. I learned that that's a no-no. Which CRM is the best one? Answer?
The one that you use.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think people get too tied up in, oh my God, it's got to do everything I want. It's got to be perfect. When's the last time you had something that's perfect?
Doesn't exist.
No.
Yeah, it doesn't exist. Every CRM's got little quirks to it, and it's really which one you become most comfortable with. And for some, they dive into one that's extremely advanced and very robust, and they get used to that, and then they make changes, and all of a sudden they say, oh, this is not as robust or it's too simplistic. And then I hear the exact opposite, that I like simple, and this thing is just crazy. Got too much going on. It's creating anxiety for me. So,
yeah, one of the big stumbling blocks in getting a CRM up and going, and it's unfortunate because it truly is the most important part of any salesperson's business.
That database.
Yep.
And I'll start with that. The importance of a database, and in our profession, anything that has to do with sales, the database and why we have one. Well, number one, it's been proven if you actually keep a database, your business will go up. I was listening to some stats, or I was looking up some stats this morning, and we often talk about sphere of influence or center of influence, and here are the numbers. 63% of your business comes from center of influence or a referral from a center of influence.
Okay.
That's
I trust that.
nationwide.
I don't know.
So I looked up the numbers this morning. That's nationwide. So some other facts that they shared. The majority of the people spend 10 times more money on everything other than their sphere of influence or center of influence.
It's right here in our notes.
Yep, trying to generate business from those that they don't know. Most of your time, energy, and resources are used in probably are not being used in what we or where we get most of our business from. And that's why we have a CRM. And another number I will throw out there, this one's for all the agents out there, 100% of the people who have a database of 10,000 or more, regardless of who's in the database, in a CRM, there was a consistent thing that was among all of those agents. They all made over $300,000 a year.
Interesting. I think 10,000 is a hard number to manage, but
It is.
I don't know.
It is. I agree. But if you have a CRM and a lot of drip campaigns and things are happening in there, but I found that to be an interesting stat that was 100%. Every person they found that had more than 10,000 people in a database in a CRM also were making a minimum of $300,000 a year.
So potentially just having those names and doing something with them is going to bring you something.
Exactly.
It's different effort. Because I would argue if you've got 200 contacts in your database.
And they're the right contacts?
And you work it appropriately.
Right.
You don't have to be perfect, but don't ignore it. You'll make $300,000 a year.
That is true.
It's in there.
That is true. It is in there. And we talk about that. We talk about that often, that, we look at the numbers, reverse engineering everything, and that we see that the turnover, whether it's be it a turnover in a geographic farm, turnover within the center of influence, we know what those numbers are, and you're 100% correct. We normally see about a 10% turnover either within that center of influence or one deep. And if there are 200 people in there, there's 20 transactions in there every single year. So what percentage of those transactions are you getting? Boom, simple math of where you're going to end up in business-wise if you know the average sales price of that.
And yet, what did they say? 86%. Was that your number, 86? 92%, 87%, whatever. They're all close enough. People say they will use their agent again after they've done a transaction, and yet only 13% do.
Because they can't find them or haven't heard from them.
It's because agents aren't doing a great job. They have a database, but it just sits there. They're not using that database to work the business. So let's see. Our best customers are our past clients in our sphere, and they're the most affordable to maintain.
Right.
Two great reasons for using a CRM.
Absolutely. So why do most agents not use a CRM?
They overwhelm themselves.
Okay.
Just as you stated, they don't have a plan for it. They know they need one, but they don't know what to do. And so maybe they get as far as putting all their contacts into the CRM, but then they're like, and you know what? I can totally relate to this.
Yep.
I've been through a number of CRMs, and it takes time. You got to start. You got to get your data in there, and then you have to take some clues. Okay, well, what am I doing? Well, I need to do tasks to keep in touch with people.
Mm-hmm.
I need to take notes on conversations I have. I need to keep my data up to date, and then use it for marketing. So I've probably gone through 10 iterations of each one of those.
Right.
So I've gotten to where I am now, and I feel like, wow, I've got a real handle on it now. Right? Even the cold, warm, hot leads eluded me for years. I started using them. I'm like, oh, wait, I'm using these wrong. And I tried again. Well, now I'm using these wrong again. Wait a minute, where am I at? And I finally got it. Now I understand. Okay, now I know what hot, warm, and cold means.
Right.
And I know what my hit list means, which is different from hot, warm, or cold. And so you just have to work it out because you're going to build it to your own liking. I suppose you could copy to begin with. Mm-hmm. And then once you do it, say, oh, yeah, no, I wouldn't do it that way. Let me change this a little bit. But back to why they don't use them. Yeah, just no plan.
Right. So I'm going to ask you this question. Before you actually got into CRM and you've been using a CRM, I know, for a while, but I want to go backwards to before you got involved in a CRM. Mm-hmm. There was some sort of CRM. It may not have been an electronic one. What would you call the caveman's version aside from my notepad here and a piece of paper and pen.
Rolodex.
Rolodex.
Or note cards. A lot of people would do note cards.
Right.
Kind of the same concept.
Okay. And then we kind of advanced to a Excel spreadsheet. We got it onto a computer, an Excel spreadsheet, which gave you the ability to create notes, all the way up to what a traditional CRM looks like now. It, if used properly, gives you the opportunity to take that database and analyze, because we talked about center of influence. We talked about, so often this business has been built with, I like to use this as an example. One of the trainers out there always talks about, hey, it's just a numbers game, and go out there, door knock, ask these questions. They say no, you go to the next door knock, and ask these questions and move on. And my philosophy's always been, no, go to that door and start that relationship with them and determine, are we somebody that's ready to do something now? Are we somebody that's ready to do something in 6 to 9 months, in 9 to 18 months, or never, whatever the case may be, or we don't know. And now that person is aligned correctly. That's the power of the CRM for me is, okay, so I know where you are now in our relationship and how we can associate with you and what message we should be taking to that person. And I think that's the biggest part of the concept that's missed. And who should be in the CRM? Shoot, everybody.
Yeah. I think that the success lies somewhere in between. You've got to build your business, and there's no way to do that without getting out there and being in front of people.
Correct.
But to have a wonderful, long-lasting business, you need to manage those people you've done business with, because, again, they're the most affordable and they're the most loyal.
Right.
And, if we had to do what you're talking about, we all know who we're talking about. Well, I think we all know who we're talking about. But it's basically the churn and burn method.
Right.
Which I'm not going to knock because it works.
It does work.
Blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while. Yep. That's a bad analogy because door knocking and phone calling is much better than blind squirrel. But the reality is, to cold call that hardcore is not something that you can do over the long run. Or maybe if you do it, but man, it is for a very few people that can maintain that posture.
It leads to burnout.
Exactly.
Probably 95% of the time.
Yeah, but if you have a hybrid, if you're cold calling, but you're also managing those that you've worked with and having an opportunity to work with them again, all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, I got a nice balance here. This feels better.
Right.
And then at some point, we have agents in this office, I know, guarantee it, they don't do any prospecting except for their SOI and their sphere of influence. They do it very well now. They built it up, took them years, and now they get a very handsome income every year by working with a select 200-300 clients that they manage very well.
So you just brought up an interesting point that I don't think a lot of people understand this. So Travis, if I actually create a database and it has all the notes in there and I've created a good, strong, solid foundation, when I retire, I actually have something I can sell to somebody else. I don't think we put a lot of time, energy, or effort into that thought process as far as thinking into the future, that this is actually something that can be passed on and sold when you do decide to retire.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll have value. I think that's one of the many benefits of it. But yeah, absolutely. If you don't have it well managed, then you probably have nothing in the end.
Right. All right.
For sure.
All right. So you've got some crazy notes in here, and I'm kind of jumping all over the place. We were talking about, why do most agents not use a CRM? Who do I put in the CRM? How will I get things organized? How will I follow up with the contacts, both individually and or in bulk?
Let's talk about real quick about what we see.
Okay.
And why we're having this conversation.
Absolutely.
Too many times we talk to agents and say, oh, hey, where do you generate most of your business from? 90% of the time. Oh, from my sphere and my past clients. Oh, that's fantastic. What CRM do you use? And then the room goes silent.
Right.
And we hear things like, well, I have them in Excel. Well, they're in my phone. Oh, geez. This is the worst thing for managing clients.
Right.
And so this did a real disservice to people to really manage their clients well, because that's not managing them. We started with paper, as you joked here with your sticky notes, and we talked about a Rolodex and cards. And those are all great, but they're very active. You know, you've got to be in there. You've got to be doing a lot of work to really manage it.
Right.
Now you have the beauty of a CRM that, yes, you have to work it. You have to be in it every day. It's got to be open. But when you get it going, you're telling it to tell you what to do.
Exactly.
And that's where I think a lot of agents miss things. It's like, oh, yeah, that's my client, but they're never contacting them. Maybe occasionally off something offhand, as opposed to, hey, Nestor, it's Robin's home purchase anniversary. Give her a call.
Exactly.
Hey, you'd put a note in here that someone had told you they were going to have surgery in August. It's September 1st. Call them and check and see how they're doing.
Yep.
These are things that we have great intentions of in our business, but if we don't write them down and have a wonderful automated system to push them back out to us and tell us to do them, you're going to miss 90% of them.
Yes.
Imagine the business you miss off that.
And, you know, I'll piggyback on that, how powerful some of these CRMs are now, because some of the CRMs are actually connected to your website and connected to your email campaigns. And what does that mean? So I'm familiar with CRMs that are connected to the website, where if you visited the website and you've asked for information, the CRM will tell you when Travis came back and looked in the website again and started searching properties again. So there's an indication where you wake up in the morning and you get that email. And you might want to reach out to Travis because he was just on your website and he was looking at properties. Or if you've got your email campaigns connected to him, Travis just opened your email 9 times.
Just open the second one in a row.
Right.
Don't call them up and say, hey, I saw you open my emails, but call them up and say, hey, how you been? You know, haven't been a while.
So this, I guess what part of my point is that a well-executed CRM gives you feedback as well.
Absolutely. Yes, those are great. But for most agents, when we're talking about getting started with a CRM, I wouldn't jump right into that. You got to baby step this. You got to have a plan and a system for getting into this, because that is extremely powerful. And is it attainable? Absolutely. But you don't do it right away.
No.
You got to build into it. I think you start with, what did I write down here? Did I write down the tools? Yeah. What are the most important features of a CRM? I'd recommend having all your contact information in one place, right?
Right.
How many people have some in their phone, some in a CRM that they started, but then they kind of forgot about, and it's just sitting on their computer. And then one time they thought it'd be good to do an Excel sheet, so they got some more, and they got bits and pieces everywhere.
Right.
Very inefficient, hard to really do anything with. But you have the information. Notes. Oh my God, I can't express the importance of notes. Hey, I talked to so-and-so about this at this date. So next time you're calling someone, always go straight to your CRM before you pick up that phone. Where were we? Oh, that's right. I saw them at Anaheim down at Disneyland 8 months ago. Hey, how you been? Yeah, God, it's been so long. You remember when we ran into one another at Disneyland? Who makes a note about having run into a client at Disneyland?
Exactly.
That's so powerful. And now you can do it on the fly. I think this is so important. I have Bouge on here. I love it. I take notes. I was somewhere recently, and someone called me. I think it was in the airport. And I'm making notes about a conversation I had with someone because it was important.
And you brought up, and you know, what should a CRM have? I think that any CRM that you choose today, because there are still some out there that are computer-based where they are stuck on that computer. I believe your CRM in today's world needs to be web-based.
Yes.
So that you have that app that you're able to access it from your phone. You have the ability to access it from home, access it from work, access it from vacation, wherever you are, so that you can actually get in there and that information is always in sync. And
Absolutely.
It sounds like a minor thing because there are CRMs out there right now that it's still, hey, upload the software and you know, run it from that one computer. But like you mentioned, so often, so much of what we do is on the fly. You know, run into somebody. This morning, ran into somebody at the pool, started asking me questions about a property over here and a property over there and this and that. And that's an opportunity for me to walk back to my car after I'm finished with my swim and get in there and make some notes about what that conversation was about.
Even more powerful, later that day or the next day. Hey, it was great running into you. By the way, in regards to that question you had for me.
Exactly.
Give them a little more information.
Yep, exactly.
Be like, wow, this person's on top of it. But real quick, important feature so agents don't overwhelm themselves, because you're right. CRMs can do amazing things.
Mm-hmm.
I think we bite off more than we can chew, and that's one of the big problems if agents don't get into CRMs. But if you pick features that you need to get started with and won't overwhelm you, again, contact information, notes, having a calendar is nice, tasks,
Yes.
right, telling you what to do, categories. Can't overemphasize the power of having categories. And then drip campaigns, have that built in there.
Elaborate on categories a little bit.
Okay, so
I think
tags.
you're referring to tags, yeah.
So, Nestor is a past client. This individual was a garage sale participant. This person was a past client plus a garage sale participant. You can even have garage sale participant August 2000, garage sale participant August 2021.
Right.
You can have, I probably have 100 tags.
Exactly. And so an individual can have multiple tags.
I have people with 6-8 tags.
I'll give you an example. One of the tags that Michelle uses quite often, she uses it every single year, is shred event.
Yep.
So there are individuals that have shown up to the shred event and they have a tag shred event so that she can send them a reminder or have a reach out at the next event. Pulls up everybody that showed up to the event that's in her database, and she's able to formulate an email and send it out, and or make phone calls or text messages, whatever she wants. But she's able to go and remind them that, hey, we're having another event.
Reminders, reminders, reminders.
Right.
One of the things I hate the worst is when I pick up the phone, I call someone, hey, it's Travis Barron over here at RE/MAX Premier Realty. I'm calling them for whatever, a follow-up call, a cold call.
Mm-hmm.
And the worst is when they're like, oh, yeah, I know. Don't you? I met you. And I'm like, oh, right. And then I hang up. I go into my notes. And I'm like, you idiot, you didn't look in your CRM. And sure enough, there's a note there that I talked to this person.
Right.
So when you get enough contacts, sometimes you don't remember. Maybe you know them, but you don't know why. Well,
right.
What's in your notes? Go back to your notes and see. So when you call them, you can have a very good conversation.
I like that. Let's see.
All right, so I jumped over that one category of the benefits.
The benefits
right?
of using a CRM.
Yeah, so efficiency these days, especially with the mobile features and web-based. So wherever you are, you can look it up, see what's going on. It's super important.
So I want to answer this question by asking you a question. I'll answer the same question. But so the benefits of a CRM. Tell me in your own words the 3 things that you use your CRM for the most. Your biggest 3 benefits that you get out of it.
Notes.
Okay.
So I have everything. Man, I write notes in there crazy. I love putting them in from my phone when I'm out in the field.
Mm-hmm.
Tasks.
Okay.
Because when I get off a conversation on the phone, 90% of the time, I'm putting in another task for when I want to talk to that person again.
Okay.
And sometimes it's, hey, I need to send Nestor that email on such and such. Hey, touch base with Nestor about the event we chatted. Give him, a week's notice reminder that it's coming up.
Correct.
So things to do.
Okay.
Others are like, find a reason to call Nestor. Literally, I'll put in there, okay, I talked to this person. There was something good. I think my follow-up should be, and then I have to determine, right? Do I think that there's someone that I don't need to call for a year?
Right.
Hey, I'm not interested. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm fine keeping in contact, but I'm not doing anything right now. Hey, all right, have a great day. Appreciate you picking up the phone. Okay, find a reason to call them in 1 year.
Right, right.
Just as a touch, because I know they don't want to be bothered. So you have to figure out the frequency, but find a reason. And it's just reminding me, hey, this person needs to be touched regularly.
Right.
Now's the time.
Mm-hmm. So for me, reminders. That's probably one of the biggest ones.
So tasks, kind of the same thing?
Yes. My life is much easier when I open up and look at my emails and it says, do this.
Do this today.
Yes.
Here are 5 tasks
right.
that are going to be value oriented.
Correct. And not only does it
That
say
feels so good.
do this, but when I open it, it's got live links with all the contact information, so you have no excuses. You can't, I got to go look it up or figure it out or where it is. It's all right there. You need to make this, you need to text this message, or you need to make this phone call, or do whatever it is, and everything that I need is right there. So that's probably one of my favorite ones, because I've got nothing to do. There you go. So now we have something to do. The other one, email campaigns. For me, email campaigns and drip campaigns, I feel are probably one of the most, you'll hear it in our industry now, emails don't work. I claim BS to that. Emails are probably still one of the most effective, inexpensive ways to communicate with people and get feedback from them about where they're at. They'll give you feedback. Unsubscribe. Great feedback. Gone. Clicking on a link 4 or 5 times, looking at your information and going back to it, opening up an email over and over and over again, forwarding it to somebody else. That's all feedback that comes back that gives you an opportunity to give you a reason to reach out to them.
You can do nothing, or you can try.
Exactly.
Is anything perfect? No. That's why you layer things.
Right.
And with email, I remember I do a campaign every other week. Well, for you in the office, once a week. And I said, oh man, I go, but yeah, God, these people are unsubscribing and stuff. I go, what do you do? He goes, dude, if you don't have people unsubscribing, you're not trying hard enough. Exactly. It's like, totally changed my attitude. Right. I'm like, yeah, you're right. All right, let's do this. The other one I like, so I had notes, tasks. I love categories. I just use the heck out of them. So I do things like real easy. Cold, warm, hot. Mm-hmm. So it's got to be someone that I've had a conversation with, that they've maybe been like, well, okay, yeah, let's get some more information, depending. Then I have my top 100. People should have their number of clients that are on top. And they're not necessarily active clients. Mm-hmm. They're not cold, warm, or hot, but they're people you're interested in and you want to be in contact with.
Right.
And then I do lots of things. If I have a conversation with someone and they say, oh, I'm just so lost. Mm-hmm. I really don't have any direction. That's one of my struggles in the business. Boom. I have a tag that says needs a business plan. I have a tag that says overwhelmed. And any aspect of the business, I want that to come up so I can talk to people.
Right.
Maybe I run into a great article. I'm like, well, this is so great for someone who's overwhelmed. Boom. I go into my CRM. I say, give me all my contacts under overwhelmed. They come up. I have an automatic email list right there to send this to.
There you go.
Yeah, so I really love them, and you can't have too many.
Correct. You mentioned something earlier that, in our conversations when we're having consultations with agents and we're asking them where their business comes from, and the majority of the time the answer is center of influence, and sphere of influence. But I don't know about you, but also the majority of the time, the real first answer is, I don't know. We really have to go back, and what ends up happening is I ask that question and they don't know the answer. Then when we start to look at their production, where did this sale happen? And that was so-and-so. Oh, that was so-and-so. And then there's a realization that it's center of influence. And I bring this up because one of the other things that, CRM that I just saw that I'm enjoying is it keeps track of your business now too, so that you can add those categories and those tags when the business is going in. Hey, the sale is here. This is this. Where did it come from? Who is this person? What tags can you change, or what categories can you put them into of where this is, so that you know? Absolutely.
And I think we all, the trap we all fall for, 99% of us, and it is not a judgment at all, because it just has how it is.
It is, yeah.
I got this. I'll remember. No, I'm on top of it. No, you're not. You got to have things in there to trigger you. And so I would even say, who are your active clients?
Travis is talking to me right now, because that was a conversation we had for.
That wasn't where it came from, but did we?
Many years ago, I used to have the mindset of, it's in here, I've got it. And you would constantly be writing things down and then reminding me, you didn't remember that, until I got to the point where CRM became my friend.
See, and I didn't even remember it. You know why? Because I didn't have to. I had it in my CRM and it was telling me. And so I was having a conversation and not realizing what I was doing.
Oh, that's yes. So Travis is why I'm on a CRM as of today, or
Recently.
Yes, I've been on a CRM for a while, but you were the pivotal point in actually getting me to commit to using one. So,
yeah, I mean, even things like, okay, here are my contacts. Well, who am I working with currently? Mm-hmm. And believe it or not, I think a lot of people are gonna be like, that's not true, but just looking at it regularly remind you of things that you otherwise just wouldn't have thought of. And it's not even that you've programmed something in that said, spit this back out to me, but you pull up a couple times a week the people that you're working with or have talked about it, and you can have different layers, right? Mm-hmm. Like actively working with. Then you have another tab that's like considering a purchase or sale.
Right.
And you just go through there and do that a couple times a week. I can almost guarantee you that's going to generate you through what you've done through the week, articles that you've read, people you've talked to. They'll say, oh, I should reach out to that person. Oh, I should tell this person that, because you're being reminded. Hey, this person wanted to buy but. This person wanted to sell but. And if you have those buts written down, mm-hmm. when you run into something that's going to be helpful to them or for you to encourage them to take action, you're going to reach out. But if you don't have it written down, you're not thinking about it, it disappears very quickly.
I'll tell you a benefit of the CRM. This was in a role play situation. I don't remember if it was last week or 2 weeks ago. So we were role playing, and it was a listing. It was a listing appointment, and it was Agent A against Agent B. The client had interviewed 2 agents, and Agent A finished, and Agent B, partway through the presentation, Agent B pulled out their computer and opened up their computer, logged onto their CRM, and said, let me take a look real quick because your price range is going to be right about here. Let me see who I've got in my database that is looking for that criteria so we can start with them and reach out.
Tags, price ranges.
And exactly. And
I love it. I never thought of that.
I looked at it and I'm all like, you just brought value to that presentation that the majority of the people probably don't have the ability to do because they don't have that system in place.
Yeah, and maybe you think it's not worth your time. Like, but these people all fall off and da-da-da. That's true. You may call all 10 of the ones that pop up and none of them are valid anymore.
Right.
But boy, was that a great sales pitch in front of that listing agent.
Right?
I mean, that seller.
Just pulled, here we go. I currently have this many clients right now that are looking for something like this. This is where we'll start. So
I like to use the example when I bring in recruits and I talk about, the company and then our technology, and I always walk them through Booge, our CRM, and I go, this is really pivotal to your business. Do you have a CRM you're using? Or if it's a new agent, you're going to need a CRM. Well, okay, let me show you the value of this. And I go back and I show them some of the people that have come to our office and or that we've talked to in some way that's expressed an interest in making a change. Mm-hmm. And it has taken us upwards of 6-9 months to get them into the office.
Right.
And I show them the steps involved. And I have to scroll. Mm-hmm. Phone call, task set. Email sent, task sent. Phone call, task sent.
Right.
Meeting, email, whatever. Just boop, 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 boop. The whole thing. Tell me you're going to remember that person and do all that follow-up unless you have some machine spitting that back out to you.
Exactly.
So now you got 10 people you're trying to do this with. You're trying to juggle it. Each one of those is a value of $15,000 to you as an agent. Mm-hmm. Do you want to drop any of those balls? No.
Nope.
If you don't have your CRM, you're going to focus on 1 and lose 9.
And we've seen that happen.
Yeah. It's, I get in the office in the morning, I pull up my email, which you got to be careful with that. You don't want to get stuck in your email. I pull up my calendar. Mm-hmm. I pull up my Asana. So it's basically my to-do list and other office things. And I pull up my CRM. And of course, the MLS. Mm-hmm. Got to have those 5 things open. You got to be in them every day. CRM is one of those 5 things that are pivotal to your business.
So, and it's interesting. I don't know. So, and see, my setup's a little bit different because I goes directly to the email because my CRM is set up to automatically send me the tasks that are necessary for that day. So I actually start in the email.
Boosh. It's right on my desktop.
Right.
Task for today.
Exactly.
I love it.
So it is one of the things that I open up first as well. Asana, I'm a little bit slower to get into that one.
That's
usually by noon.
That's a big bite to chew.
It is.
But you got to take it baby steps.
Correct. It's just like everything else.
Yeah.
So you have a note in here. How to use each of these features. Contact information. Note.
Yeah. So contact. Okay. Let's go through that one real quick. What did I write there? Keeps vital. Yeah. I think that a lot of people can relate to this. You're busy during the week. You're taking calls. You're making notes on the edge of papers, on some stickies. You don't have a system. Mm-hmm. Maybe you do have a system. You have a notepad or book, and you write things on there. And it's good because everything you write, you just have to flip back to go to. And then at the end of the week, you're like, oh, God, I got to find this person. You go back, and there's a name and a number.
Right. What was
that
it for?
Again?
Exactly.
Or even you have the intention of, hey, at the end of the week, I'm going to grab all this and throw it in my CRM. You get to Friday and you're like, God, I know I talked to John. Mm-hmm. I think it was about buying, but I don't 100% remember. Skip it all. Just have your CRM open. And put it in immediately and make that note. Hey, I spoke to John. And I'm telling you, it's not easy.
No.
It's not the easiest thing ever.
That's still a habit that I'm still trying to create.
But when you get that habit, you realize I understand the value of this,
yes.
and you want to go and make the notes.
Correct, because I am 100% guilty of grabbing that paper, and I was laughing the other day because Harley walked in and he brought some notepads, and on the right-hand side it had to-do lists and it had task and it had a place for notes for the day, and I said, "Oh, he knows me." And what I have found is, when I take that approach, you don't make enough notes. And sometimes it's the little things that we don't pay attention to. So if I'm going into a CRM and I'm actually making a note on the individual, most of the information's in there already, or you are prompted to complete the information as far as who the contact is. So an example would be, I'll make a note on that notepad or that paper, and I'll only write the first name. End of the day, the brain doesn't work like it used to. I'm like, I know like 6 of the people named. Who was
then
this?
You're Googling their telephone number, hoping a name will come up somewhere.
Right. And it's like, okay, I got a phone number and a name, and I've got a brief note here, and it's not enough information for me to figure out what the heck we were talking about or what it was at the message. And I am guilty of that almost daily. And it's one of those things that, and you've approached, I've seen you when we're in conversations and we're getting into tasks and things like that. You are so quick to open the computer, boom, plop it into a place where you know you can find it, and then erase it from your mind so you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, and you know what I've learned? I'm getting a little off track here, but I think it's important is with Asana and my tasks, it's literally like, hey, call Nestor about John. Or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's like, I'm going to remember that. 2 minutes on Google and everything's out of your head. And so I just do the most mundane things.
Right.
And then, of course, the ones that are a little bit more technical, I definitely want to have in there. So don't skip anything. Mm-hmm. Don't think, no, I got it. No, everything goes in there. So, that's notes. I see what I did. It went into notes. Yeah. So you got contact information again, because we have it everywhere. We write one on the edge of a piece of paper. We write one on a sticky, and they kind of disappear, and they're, can't handle them well. Notes, because we want to know where we were.
Right.
We want to have that powerful conversation. We want to shock someone. Hey, how you been, Nestor? Yeah. How's Michelle been? Oh. Did we talk about her? Yeah, you had mentioned her. You guys, da-da-da-da-da.
I want to emphasize, the purpose of taking notes is not to be creepy about remembering certain things. It's kind of, where did we leave off in our conversation? And oftentimes it's just a simple reminder of, oh yeah, we were talking about this. The last time we got together, we were talking about this. Gives you an opportunity to keep the flow, because they probably don't remember it. But what happens is when you bring it back up, they say, oh yeah, we were talking about that.
You meant last time we touched base, you had mentioned you were really interested in purchasing, but you have some credit issues, and I think I'd sent you over a referral of someone who could help you with that. How's that going?
Right.
Oh, God, yeah, I forgot. Thank you. You know what? It's whatever. We're done. We're moving on, and glad you called. Whatever. You just get right back into the flow.
I like it.
Tasks, of course. Those are easy.
Yes. Gives you an idea, and that kind of jumps into the calendar. The next note that you made in here is your tasks go onto the calendar, which helps you with everything from birthdays to anniversaries to, and I think a lot of it is we overlook. So, an example, what's an anniversary? Well, you can, if you know their wedding anniversary, great opportunity to connect. If you know, when they bought the house, another opportunity to connect. That's a different anniversary, but that's a happy anniversary. The day they got a dog. And this might sound silly, but you see a Facebook post or something like that, we picked up a dog today. Go in there and you make a note. You know what? You go on Amazon a year later and say, happy anniversary. It's been 1 year, and send them, a $2, $3 dog treat, and you think you won't get their attention? Right?
Powerful. Extremely powerful.
And it's just one of those things, that kind of thinking outside the box and making notes. And if you decide not to do that, that's okay. You still have a note in there of, you see them a year later, hey, it's been a year. Not a puppy anymore, blah, blah, blah. And I remember a year ago when you got the dog, it was a puppy and this and that. And you can have a conversation, but it's just about making sure you're making these notes and adding to the calendar.
Absolutely.
I love this one that you wrote in here for calendar. Time blocking. How many people time block? I just
fewer than we would like.
Okay. Is there anybody out there that time blocks? Drop it in the notes, because I would love to hear about that. There's a note in here. The older I get, the less I remember. Yeah. So very true. But I wanted you to talk a little bit. I brought up time blocking for a reason, because that's an important thing. And it's, is it part of a CRM? It can be part of a CRM if you have it in there correctly. But, maybe I'm jumping to a different category or different topic altogether. But I feel it's an important thing, and that's something that we should know about. Go ahead, Travis. Give me more on time blocking.
I time block without really knowing it. I don't have it in my calendar,
Okay.
which I probably should. I have it in my head.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do schedule around it.
Okay.
Right now, as well as I could if I actually had it on my calendar and said I'm not scheduling around this.
Right.
And I've just discovered over time that afternoons become hectic.
Mm-hmm.
We've had a day of work. Things have piled up.
Right.
Got to pick up kids. Got to go deal with parents, whatever it might be. That morning's the best time to catch people.
Mm-hmm.
And so in my head, mentally, 9 to 11 is my prospecting time.
Okay.
So that's when I'm looking at my tasks in my CRM.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at any notes I have, co-op deals I need to call for people, just any calls I need to make. I find that I catch the most people,
Mm-hmm.
and I catch them at the best time.
Right.
Whereas they're a little bit shorter in the afternoon if they're even picking up at all. So that's my time block, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. You see me sitting in my office. Usually I have my door not quite all the way closed,
Right.
but enough, and I'm just pounding away on the phone.
And here's an interesting thing that I heard you say, is that I don't have it in my calendar, but I will say this, that having a CRM and putting these things in place has created that habit for you.
It's true.
That it may not necessarily need to be in your calendar.
Yeah.
Because now it's become a consistent thing that's in your day-to-day routine. And when we get to that point, it's kind of like driving to work. I don't need to put that in my calendar, directions to get from home to here. Kind of got that now.
Yeah.
So, but the habit's been created. And the second you move, it always happens. You leave work and you start driving back to the wrong house because that habit was created. So you've got to remind yourself.
Very true.
So I like the other note that you put in here, as well as reminders to always follow up. And, what you never miss something when you've got your calendar put in place correctly. You don't run into that situation where the dreaded, I forgot or I missed that appointment.
Mm-hmm.
Happens more often than we think. So, we usually hear it as a different excuse. Yeah. The Marsha Brady, something suddenly came up. No, it didn't suddenly come up. We just didn't put it in our calendar. So, all right, let's jump ahead. The keys to success with your CRM.
Get in it. You got to be in there every day. Super important.
Okay.
And, it makes you work with it. Let me give you an example. So this is a little bit off topic, but I want to say it before I forget it, which is that we don't want to do too much with our CM to begin. Take baby steps to get into it. Things are going to change. And I used to have preconceived notions about how to use different features of a CRM.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started saying, well, no, there's like a call. Like you can record a call in Booge. So you click on it and say, hey, I had a call.
Right.
And I thought, oh boy, what am I going to do? Only if I get a hold of someone, I'm able to make that note. What am I going to do with these other notes? And after a while, I realized, whose rules am I following here? Like preconceived notions I had in my head. So my call now is if I called someone and had a conversation, of course it goes under a call note. If I call someone and leave a message, that goes under my call note. So I know that I left a message and what message I had left. If I send them an email, it goes under my call because mine doesn't have a feature that says sent an email or whatever. So my call has become my reached out. Mm-hmm. And so that's one way to think about it when you're looking at these CRMs is mine perfect? Would I like to have a little more clarification or different buttons? Maybe. But after a little bit of time and thinking about it, I'm like, I know exactly what call is. That just means I reached out. So that's how you got to think about the different aspects of your CRM and mold them to the way they're effective for you in reaching out to people.
Right. So, and, funny, I look at that and mine's a little bit more, my CRM does have email, or did you email them? Did you text message them? Did you call them? But I actually like your approach better because it's all in one place.
Yeah.
So whether, for me, technically, I've got to look it up. I mean, it will tell me when I go into the contact and it's got everything labeled out. It does say the email. It says but I've got 3 different buttons that I've got to work with. So I actually like that. We're on the hour. We're actually a little bit over the hour. So I want to wrap things up.
Yeah, we started a little late.
A little bit. But I want to be sensitive to everybody's time there. I don't know, in closing, if there was anything more that you wanted to add to this conversation. I wanted to close with, we did answer the question of what's the best CRM to use, but I did want to talk about some of the CRMs that we have used and ones that we're aware of that are out there. Because
before we hit on that, I'll hit on one thing. Maybe
Sure.
you have one thing that you want to hit on as well. And I think it is, you've got to have a system.
Yes.
Just open up a blank document on your computer, get out a notepad, and say, what am I trying to achieve here? Okay, I want all my contacts in one place. All contacts in one place. Okay, so that's usually the beginning, right? You got to go get them from your phone, from your closed files, from your little scraps of paper. Get them all up there.
Right.
And then what am I trying to achieve? How am I going to want to contact these people? So I got to start working with tags, or I just had one go through my head. I want to be in touch with people regularly. Oh, that's one thing I didn't mention is when we don't use a CRM or we use kind of a wonky one, out of the 200 people that really should get our attention, we focus on 25 people.
Exactly.
Because we're comfortable with them, or we know them better, or whatever the reason is, and we think, I keep in contact with my CRM. No, you don't.
The same 10, 15, 25 people keep coming to mind for you, and so that's where you end up continuing to go.
Exactly.
And then, you forget about.
So you're really working 25 people well, not 200.
Right.
Which that can be an 8-fold difference if you look at it.
Right.
So being able to get people in there and then saying, well, how do I do tasks to get started? Well, go into our systems in the hub we have here in the office and do your lease follow-ups. Call the people who have leases expiring. Call the landlords. Call the tenants. These are all touches for any reason. So start doing that. Build in your tasks. And I just think that you need to baby step your way in there and don't think this is going to work perfect. Everything is exactly how I want it. No, you got to make it yours out of what you have in front of you.
So I'd add to that when Travis is talking about baby steps, that I say baby step the whole process. This is the other one that I hear a lot. Well, I got to get all my contacts in. Okay. And what happens is it becomes overwhelming because that process or that thought process in that person's mind is, I've got to find every single contact that I've got, get them all together and get them in here, and this is going to take hours. And so it gets started, and then it doesn't get done, and it gets started again, and it doesn't get done, and then nothing gets done because it really never got started, because it becomes a daunting task. It's overwhelming to them because it's people here, people there, and people everywhere. Real simple. Spend 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes a day and add 5 or 6 people. Add 9 or 10 people. And then move on.
Time block for that, folks.
Exactly. Exactly. It doesn't all have to get done, and every portion of the CRM does not have to get done when you start it to the end. It's okay to build it as you go. Is it a perfect system?
Brilliant thought. Yep.
It's not perfect, but you'll be a whole lot further in a year
Exactly.
than if you keep trying to figure out when is the day I can get all 1,000 of these people or 200 people in there from all these different things and figure out who's who.
I know someone that taught me a lesson, and what she does is when you ask her to do something, she just does it. Like, the only problem with that is if you have second thoughts, forget it, because it's done. But she doesn't bemoan it. She doesn't overanalyze it. She just goes and does it.
Right.
So I always say of her, it's better done than perfect. And I think this is a perfect example.
Exactly.
Because if you get some forward momentum, you realize, well, that's not exactly how I want it. Okay, now's your opportunity. How do you want to fine tune it? Take a little bit deeper look at it. But keep the action going.
Right.
Don't not take the action. And little by little, you can get into it.
Exactly. So let's close. CRMs that you used. You've mentioned Booge. What are some of the other CRMs that you've worked with?
Oh boy. So I'm using Booge currently. Before that, I used Realty Juggler,
Okay.
which was a good system. I've used my phone.
Okay.
I've used a personal digital assistant. Before we had the iPhone and phones like this, you would have your flip phone, and then I would have an electronic personal digital assistant.
Okay.
So I've been organized that long.
Okay.
And I don't know if I've really... Oh, then I used Lead Street before Booge. They had a program.
Okay.
Was it perfect? No, but actually they had some features that I absolutely loved. Most of it was drip campaigns and the way that they tracked it. And, it was really wonderful. And actually a lot of that's built into Booge as well. So I'd say those are the 3 I've used the most.
Okay. So Realty Juggler, which my opinion of it was, if you are feeling overwhelmed by a CRM, that's probably one of the more simplistic ones where it really walks you through and very easy to understand, very easy to get started in. And I went from there to Follow Up Boss. And that was like night and day.
Well, I'd say that's getting out of like a Ford truck. It's very utilitarian. It's very powerful. Like Realty Juggler, you could go deep if you wanted to.
You can.
But you didn't have to. You could reside on the surface, and it made it very easy, which was nice. And by the way, I didn't leave Realty Juggler for any other reason than Booge came out. So I still highly recommend Realty Juggler. But yeah, going to Follow Up Boss is like jumping from that Ford F-150 into like a Ferrari.
Yeah, it was crazy, all the bells and whistles and everything that it did. And honestly, committed to it. And then I don't even know why this occurred, went from Follow Up Boss to, actually before Follow Up Boss actually went to Lion's Desk.
Okay, another good one a lot of people use.
Yes, and I liked Lion's Desk a lot. And I remember that change was really just because of the text message feature in there was the reason for that change. Follow Up Boss, had that and 10,000 things more. And then I went from Follow Up Boss and most recently to Chime, which another pretty robust system as well. And do they all have benefits? Absolutely. But they're different. That is one of the things I've learned in CRMs. They're all different. So it's really a matter of finding the one that you like that fits your best needs, and again, don't overthink it. And it's interesting looking back on it. One of the things that I would say was probably sometimes we do have to go backwards to go forwards, but I looked at the CRM and I probably overanalyzed it a little bit too much and ended up going backwards and not really making any forward advancements on it. So I would encourage you to find the one that you like, stick with it. Don't, and I'm talking about, and I know that you talked about these changes that have occurred. This wasn't over a matter of a month. It wasn't like went from Realty Juggler to Follow Up Boss the next month, went to Chime. I'm talking over the last years that these were systematic changes that were made after, using a product for well over a year and making a decision after that. And I would encourage you, if you are making a decision to get into one, whichever one you choose, don't jump out of it too soon.
Yeah, you always can.
Right.
I went from Realty Juggler over to Booge, and I think most of them make it pretty easy. There's some glitchy things about it, but for the most part, it's not a problem. But I agree with you. Yeah, you don't want to be jumping around because it will be extra work. But I would recommend go out and look at 3, 4, 5.
Right.
Ask your fellow realtors, people you hang out with. Just Google it. I Googled one time real estate CRMs, and a number of them come up. And just go in and look at their demos. Go to YouTube.
Right.
They'll give you some tutorials and things on them. And don't overanalyze it. But at that point, when you're investigating, you might want to already have an idea of what you want in advance. A system.
Yes.
What am I trying to accomplish? And remember, no CRM's perfect. No CRM's going to be exactly what you want. But they're all powerful, will make your business better if you commit to them.
I love it. All right. Chantel, I didn't see any questions out there. I saw several comments coming through, but I didn't see any questions out there from the audience. I want to say thank you. You're going to be out of town next week.
I am for a little bit, yeah.
Okay. So I don't recall what next week's episode or topic is. I'll be on my own next week.
I would jump right to it, but I don't remember where I put it in here.
That's okay. But I do want to mention, I'm sorry? Buyer and seller consultations. Okay, I like that. Very nice. But I wanted to mention the following week we're going to have a guest on who is, I don't want to give too much information away, but put together a big solid team, is doing, he's probably doing about 150 transactions a year, and has built a team from the ground up and has got his systems in place, and he's going to come and visit with us and have a conversation and give us an opportunity to ask some questions and figure some things out. So I'm excited about that a couple of weeks from now. But once I've got that confirmed, we'll announce that a little bit more so that everybody's prepped for that. But yeah, we've got some good stuff coming up here in the next few weeks.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right. Happy Thursday. Normally I say happy Friday and enjoy the weekend.
Our new day.
Yeah. So
get that on your calendars.
Happy Thursday.
Block us off for Thursdays.
Yeah, you have one more day of prepping before I can say happy weekend. All right, everybody. Take care and have a wonderful day.
See you next week. Well, Nestor will.
I will, yes.